The fastest way to look older isn't hidden in your wrinkles. It's hidden in the tiny choices no one ever warns you about. A necklace, a handbag, a watch you've worn for years, a favorite pair of earrings. None of them seem dramatic. None of them look obviously wrong. And that's exactly why they deserve a closer look. The most aging accessories are rarely the loudest ones. They are the ones that quietly tell a story that no longer belongs to the woman wearing them. Fashion has always been a language. Long before anyone notices the quality of your clothes, your accessories have already introduced you. They speak in silence. They reveal habits, confidence, intention, and sometimes, a version of yourself you've already outgrown. After spending decades studying proportion, craftsmanship, and timeless style, I've learned something that surprised even me. Elegance isn't created by adding more beautiful things. It's created by knowing which beautiful things should step aside. If you've ever wondered why one woman in a simple outfit seems unforgettable, while another, wearing far more expensive pieces, somehow feels overdone, today's conversation will answer that question. Here on Evergrace Style, we don't chase trends, and we certainly don't chase youth. We study presence. We refine what already makes a woman remarkable. Today, I'll share the accessories that quietly work against that presence, the subtle changes that transform an entire look, and why true sophistication often begins with the courage to let something go. There is a moment every great outfit can lose its balance. Surprisingly, it often happens before anyone notices the dress, the blazer, or the shoes. It happens the instant a piece of jewelry demands all the attention. Now this is where fashion becomes deeply misunderstood. Jewelry is not supposed to compete with you. It is supposed to complete you. Over the years, I've watched countless women invest in larger gemstones, heavier necklaces, brighter metals, believing those pieces would create a stronger presence. But presence has never been measured by volume. True elegance has always been measured by harmony. Imagine meeting two women at a dinner gathering. The first is wearing an elaborate statement necklace, paired with oversized earrings, sparkling bracelets, and several bold rings. Everything is beautiful on its own. Yet somehow, your eyes never settle on her face. They keep wandering from one accessory to another, searching for a place to rest. The second woman wears only a pair of beautifully crafted earrings and a single sculptural bracelet. You notice her smile first, then her confidence. Only later do you realize how thoughtfully her jewelry completed the picture. That difference is not about money. It is about editing. And this is where most people get it completely wrong. Many believe elegance comes from adding one more beautiful piece. In reality, the most sophisticated women often become more striking every time they remove something unnecessary. Fashion works much like architecture. A magnificent building isn't admired because every inch is decorated. It's admired because every detail has room to breathe. Your accessories deserve that same respect. This becomes even more important after 60, not because you should become invisible, but because your face carries something far more valuable than decoration. It carries character, wisdom, warmth. Those qualities should always remain the center of attention. For a family celebration, an elegant dinner, or even a quiet afternoon with friends, try one simple experiment before you leave the house. Put on every piece of jewelry you plan to wear. Then stand in front of the mirror and remove one item, not because it isn't beautiful, but because something else deserves to shine more. You'll be surprised how often the woman becomes more memorable the moment the jewelry becomes quieter. Because the finest accessories never ask to be admired. They simply make the woman impossible to forget. And once you begin seeing jewelry this way, you'll notice another accessory that quietly holds on to a version of your life that may no longer exist. Before we talk about color, size, or designer labels, let me ask you a different question. When was the last time you looked at your favorite handbag, not with affection, but with honesty? This sounds small, but it changes everything. Some handbags don't become outdated because fashion moved on. They become outdated because they continue telling the story of a woman you've quietly outgrown. One of the most remarkable lessons I learned while working around beautiful clothing was this. Women rarely become attached to handbags because of leather or craftsmanship. They become attached to the life those bags once represented. Perhaps it was the bag you carried during an exciting chapter of your career, the one you proudly wore to celebrations, the one that traveled through airports when life felt full of possibilities. The memories are real. They deserve to be treasured. But memories and daily style are not always meant to share the same space. Now here's the part nobody talks about. The right handbag should never feel like a museum piece, following you through life. It should feel like a natural extension of the woman you are today. Imagine meeting someone for lunch. Your clothing feels clean and modern. Your shoes are beautifully maintained. Your posture reflects quiet confidence. Yet hanging from your shoulder is a handbag whose hardware has dulled, whose structure has softened beyond intention, or whose oversized logos belong to another era. Nothing about it is embarrassing, yet something feels disconnected. People may never identify the reason. They simply sense that the story no longer flows together. The most elegant women understand a subtle truth. They don't carry a bag to remind the world who they used to be. They carry one that reflects how intentionally they continue living now. That doesn't mean buying luxury every season. In fact, some of the most sophisticated handbags I've admired were beautifully simple. Fine leather, graceful proportions, thoughtful details, and impeccable care. Not trendy, not flashy, just quietly convincing. Before you leave home this week, place your handbag beside your outfit and ask yourself one question. If someone met me for the very first time today, would this bag introduce the woman I am now, or the woman I was 15 years ago? Sometimes, elegance begins with that single answer. Because style isn't about erasing your past. It's about allowing your present to speak just as beautifully. And once your handbag starts telling the right story again, there's another accessory that can quietly keep your entire image frozen in a different decade. There is something beautifully symbolic about a watch. It measures time, yet sometimes, without realizing it, it also stops it. I've met women who updated their wardrobe, refined their hairstyle, embraced softer tailoring, and learned exactly what suited them. But on their wrist remained the same oversized watch, the same bulky bracelet links, the same heavily decorated dial that had belonged to another chapter of fashion. The watch still worked perfectly. The style around it had simply moved on. Fashion doesn't ask us to abandon what we love. It asks us one quiet question. Does this still belong to the woman standing here today? That question has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with evolution. Think about a beautifully renovated home. The architecture is timeless. The proportions are elegant. Every room feels calm and intentional. Then, in the center of the living room, sits one enormous piece of furniture that belongs to another decade. The house isn't ruined, but your eye never forgets the interruption. Accessories behave the same way. And this is where most women get it completely wrong. Many believe a watch should be noticed first, because it represents success or good taste. But true sophistication rarely announces itself. It reveals itself gradually. A refined watch doesn't compete with your blouse, your jacket, or your jewelry. It quietly supports them, allowing your overall presence to feel effortless, instead of carefully assembled. Imagine arriving at an afternoon gallery opening, or meeting friends for coffee. Someone shakes your hand as you smile. For just a second, your watch catches the light. That brief moment should feel intentional, not distracting. Not nostalgic, simply appropriate. Today, the most timeless watches tend to favor clean lines, balanced proportions, uncluttered faces, and thoughtful materials. They don't chase attention because they never needed it. They understand something many wardrobes forget. Confidence grows quieter as it becomes more certain. Before wearing your favorite watch tomorrow, take a closer look at it, not to judge its age, not to judge its value. Instead, ask whether it still moves gracefully with the rest of your style, or whether it quietly anchors your entire image to a time you've already outgrown. Because elegance is never about proving you've owned something for decades. It's about showing that, through every decade, you've continued refining the woman who wears it. And once the watch begins keeping pace with your present, we can finally talk about an accessory that many women believe makes them look more elegant, when in reality, it often does the exact opposite. Few accessories have been misunderstood more than the scarf. For years, people have blamed scarves for making women look older. I never believed that was true. A scarf has no age. It has no opinion. It simply reflects the intention of the woman wearing it. This sounds simple, yet it changes the entire conversation. The question is no longer, should I wear a scarf after 60? The better question is, why am I reaching for it? That single answer often reveals far more than the fabric itself. I've seen women wrap scarves tightly around the neck, not because the weather called for warmth, but because they hoped to hide the passing of time. Others layered oversized scarves over beautiful jackets, soft blouses, or elegant necklines until every thoughtful detail disappeared beneath unnecessary volume. The scarf wasn't the problem. The fear was. And fashion has always struggled when it begins with fear instead of confidence. Imagine two women walking into the same autumn luncheon. One wears a beautifully tailored wool coat with a lightweight silk scarf, loosely draped so it moves naturally as she walks. It adds texture without stealing attention. It feels effortless, almost as though it belongs there by instinct. The other wraps a thick scarf several times around her neck, pulling it higher and tighter throughout the afternoon. Instead of framing her face, it creates a barrier between her expression and everyone around her. Neither woman is dressed incorrectly, but only one allows herself to be fully seen. Not trendy, not dramatic, simply open. The most elegant women understand that accessories should frame the person, never protect them from being noticed. After 60, your face tells a remarkable story. It carries resilience, kindness, humor, and experience that no fabric could ever improve. A scarf should guide the eye toward those qualities, not quietly apologize for them. So the next time you reach for one, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself whether you're adding beauty or building a hiding place. Because those are two completely different decisions. And the difference is almost invisible. Yet everyone can feel it. Once you begin wearing accessories from confidence, instead of caution, another question naturally appears. What about the accessories you don't wear because you love them, but because you feel guilty letting them go? Before we continue, I'd like you to think about one accessory you almost never wear, yet somehow, you never let it go. Perhaps it's a bracelet, a brooch, a delicate necklace tucked safely inside a velvet box, or a pair of earrings wrapped carefully in tissue paper. They aren't part of your wardrobe anymore. They're part of your history. Fashion rarely speaks about this. Designers certainly don't. But after so many years around beautiful objects, I've come to believe that the hardest pieces to edit are never the most expensive ones. They're the most meaningful. Maybe it was a gift from your mother, a birthday surprise from your children, a piece your husband placed in your hand on an ordinary afternoon that somehow became unforgettable. Its value has nothing to do with gold or gemstones. Its value lives inside a memory, and memories deserve extraordinary respect. But here is the quiet truth we almost never allow ourselves to say. Honoring a memory and wearing it every day are not the same act. Sometimes we continue wearing a piece, not because it completes who we are today, but because we're afraid that setting it aside somehow diminishes the love behind it. It doesn't. Love has never depended on a clasp, a chain, or a polished stone. Imagine opening your jewelry box on a peaceful morning. Instead of asking, "What should I wear?" you ask something gentler. What memory do I want to carry with me today? Some days, the answer may indeed be that treasured bracelet. On other days, the memory is already safely inside you. The jewelry doesn't have to prove it. This is something the most elegant women quietly understand. They never confuse sentiment with obligation. They allow cherished pieces to become keepsakes when the moment calls for it. And they allow new favorites to accompany the woman they continue becoming. There is remarkable freedom in that decision. Because elegance isn't only about choosing what to wear, it's also about releasing the pressure to wear everything that has ever mattered. The people who loved you did not fall in love with a necklace. They fell in love with your laughter, your kindness, your strength. No accessory could ever carry those things more faithfully than you already do. And perhaps the most graceful tribute to every beautiful memory is to continue living beautifully. Because once we stop dressing for yesterday, we finally make room for the woman standing in today's light. And that leads us to the final lesson, the one every truly elegant woman discovers sooner or later. If there is one lesson fashion has whispered to me over a lifetime, it is this. Elegance is rarely created by addition. More often, it is revealed through restraint. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to collect. Another handbag, another bracelet, another scarf, another pair of sunglasses. Every season promises one more piece that claims it will complete us. But style has never been a collection. It has always been a conversation. And in every meaningful conversation, someone knows when to stop talking. The same is true for the women who leave the strongest impression. Before they leave the house, they don't ask, "Is this enough?" They ask a far more interesting question. What deserves to be heard today? Some mornings it may be a beautifully crafted pair of earrings catching the morning light. On another day, it may be the graceful line of a well-cut jacket. Sometimes, it isn't an accessory at all. Sometimes, it's the quiet confidence in a woman's posture, the warmth in her smile, the calm certainty in the way she enters a room without asking permission to belong there. This is where most women get it completely wrong. They spend years searching for the perfect finishing touch, while forgetting that the most unforgettable part of any outfit has never been something hanging from the body. It has always been the woman inside it. Think of the most elegant woman you've ever admired. Before you remember what she wore, don't you remember how she made you feel? That is no accident. The finest designers understand a secret that cannot be stitched into fabric or set into precious stones. Clothing creates a frame. Accessories add rhythm. But presence is entirely human. Luxury is not wearing every beautiful thing you own. Luxury is giving each beautiful thing the wisdom to wait its turn. That is why truly sophisticated women never appear as though they are trying to impress anyone. Nothing competes. Nothing shouts. Nothing feels anxious. Everything belongs. And when everything belongs, peace becomes visible. Perhaps that is the most overlooked definition of elegance. Not perfection, not youth, not wealth, but peace. The kind of peace that comes from no longer needing your accessories to explain who you are. Because by now, your life has already done that far more beautifully than they ever could. If you've noticed something throughout today's conversation, I hope it wasn't simply a list of accessories. I hope it was something much quieter. Because this was never really about jewelry, handbags, scarves, or watches. It was about the story they tell before you ever speak. The most elegant women I've had the privilege of observing over the years shared one remarkable habit. They never allowed beautiful objects to become more memorable than the woman wearing them. Their style was never built on abundance. It was built on intention. They understood that refinement isn't measured by how much you own. It's measured by how clearly people remember you after you've left the room. As the years pass, our wardrobes naturally change, our routines change, even our reflections in the mirror change. But one thing should become stronger with every passing season: the confidence to choose with purpose. To wear only what supports your presence. To let go of what quietly belongs to another chapter. And to trust that simplicity, when chosen thoughtfully, is never ordinary. So today, before you close your jewelry box or pick up your favorite handbag, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself one gentle question. Does this accessory tell the story I want the world to hear today? You may discover the answer changes far more than your outfit. I'd truly love to know your thoughts. Which accessory in your collection feels as though it's been telling the wrong story, even though you've never questioned it before? Share it with us in the comments. Conversations like these are always richer, because of the women who take part in them. And if you enjoy exploring timeless style through a quieter, more thoughtful lens, I hope you'll join me again here on Evergrace Style. Because in our next conversation, we'll explore something even more subtle than accessories: the quiet wardrobe habits that make some women look effortlessly refined, while others never quite understand why their outfits feel unfinished. Until then, take good care of yourself, and never forget that the most unforgettable thing you'll ever wear is the life that's already written across your face.